There we go. Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for the District 4 Community Input Session on the budget. Tonight, we're joined by City Council District 4 Councilman Greg Smith. He's the council member for District 4, and he's hosting our meeting this evening. My name is Peter Zanoni. I'm the city manager for the city of Corpus Christi. And in addition to Councilman Smith, we have other council members too that may be joining me. I'm trying to view on the screen who that may be. And we'll give them an opportunity to potentially speak and introduce them as we go through our program tonight. I also have with me 15 different department heads who will help answer your questions, and they're here to listen to your input as well tonight. That includes persons like our fire chief, our police chief, our public works director, and park staff, and others. We're all in separate rooms pretty much here at either City Hall or at remote locations, and usually we wear our masks, but since we're in separate rooms, it allows us to take them off and talk a little bit more clearly to you this evening. So the purpose of tonight's event is to talk to you and then really to listen from you, hear from you on the budget. And you may recall last year, if you participated in one of these, we were out in the public. We went to all 5 city council districts, but because of COVID-19, we're following a little bit different protocol this evening, which is this virtual budget meeting. And they've been pretty successful so far. This will be our 4th one, and we have one more on Wednesday evening. But we've been joined by over 400, close to 500 persons in the first 3 districts where we covered the budget through this forum. It's been a great way to listen to the community and to get input on the budget. And so for those that are joining, I'm looking at Facebook today. We have over 100 people just in Facebook alone. There's YouTube also where people can join. And then also some people are watching this on TV on our television access channel, and they'll be calling in their comments later this evening. Before I turn it over to Councilman Smith, let me just finish the agenda with you, and then we'll turn it over to Councilman Smith to say some opening remarks as well, and for him to greet us. And so the format will consist of Councilman Smith giving a welcoming to the meeting, and then I'll come back on and I'll talk to you a little bit about the budget, give you some highlights using some of the slides that we've prepared. And for the budget that begins October 1, that will be our fiscal year 2020 budget. After I give some opening introduction to the budget, we're going to show you a video. It's a very good informational video, and it's on our website as well. So if you want to watch it again or share it with your friends and family, we'd like you to do that. And then after the video is when we'll turn it over to you, and we'll have the rest of the evening to listen to you, listen to your comments. As I mentioned, all the department heads who are on the WebEx this evening are here to answer your questions and listen to you. And you can communicate to us either on Facebook or YouTube, writing in questions, and then also you can call in as well. We do have a moderator for those questions, our interim director of communications, Deanna McQueen, and she'll help to either summarize some of the questions and comments or just state them verbatim. And so I want to thank you for taking time to join us tonight, especially through this format. We hope you get a lot of information from it, and more importantly, though, we're glad you're communicating with us this way because we can get a lot of information from you on how to make our budget better. The budget that you're going to talk about tonight, or we're going to talk to you about, is for the fiscal year that begins October 1. It's the FY 2021 budget. I proposed it to City Council a few weeks ago, and the council has been holding workshops on the budget with staff, as well as meeting with the community in these forums. And then eventually council will adopt the budget in September, but we want to get your input first to see should we do any additional changes to it. So with that, let me turn it over to Councilman Smith, and we want him to give us some welcoming remarks and comments, and then I'll come back on and give you a few more updates on the budget before we show you the video. Councilman Smith?
Well, thank you, everybody, for attending this virtual reality show on there. Last year, we were out meeting everybody in person, but it's different this year, and next year, we'll be out there in the streets with you. Now, this is your budget, whether you're a taxpayer, utility payer, and so we really want your feedback on there. And I want to thank staff. There's just a huge amount of work putting the budget together. This is the budget book. This gives you an idea of how much detail that goes into presenting this budget. And like City Manager Zanoni said, we're not complete. We're going out there. 600-700 people will give their comments on there. Like we did for the last budget, we listen to those and we modify it for it. Now, the draft budget that we're looking at today, it's a very rich in infrastructure budget. We're doing additions to parks, to streets, to our utility system on there. In District 4 alone, in this last year, we have improved 60 streets. And as we go forward in the 2021 budget, we see the same emphasis on streets, on parks. A good example, Dimmitt Pier, for everybody in Flower Bluff, we'll be replacing or reconditioning Dimmitt Pier. Laguna Shores Road, it'll be coming to council for approval in the next couple of weeks. Ocean Drive, all the way from Ennis Joslin to Louisiana Street, will have 6 inches of new asphalt, a brand new paving surface. We're doing the water exchange bridge on Padre Island. We've been talking about this for 16 years. The barricades will be going up in September. The budget we had this last year and this upcoming budget is following that. We all know about the virus, and I have to compliment staff on keeping this city going forward. A lot of cities are having to do some major reductions because Corpus Christi is financially strong. We had a strong surplus last year. We improved our bond rating. With this budget, we think we'll keep going forward. We will maintain our reserves, but the surplus that we had in our last year gives us the ability to take care of some of those COVID-related revenue drops. So we're going to hear a lot of good things, and think about this. In this COVID times, we're still moving this city forward. And one last item on that, COVID is going to get behind us. Every day that goes by, we're getting a day closer to providing the treatments and the vaccines necessary to end this. So when this 2021 comes up there, we'll be back to normal. We'll keep this city moving forward as we have and doing the street improvements all the way from Aquarius to Alameda and 58 streets in between, improvement of parks in so many different ways, expanding, we're spending more money in our libraries in this budget, all the things that the people have asked us to do. And one last comment, when I ran for council, I said we need to spend our money wisely. Now, as a city, we are doing that. We're getting more bang for our buck than we ever have before. So thank you, staff, and particularly thank you for everybody that's tuned into this, and we hope, glad to hear your comments.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman Smith. We appreciate those opening comments. What I'm going to do now is we're going to show you a couple of visuals on your screen, and I'll highlight some of the key elements in the budget, and then we're going to watch the video. And some of this will be covered again in the video, but it's worth kind of going over at one time so you can make sure you're getting the information. And so our budget that I propose to City Council is balanced. And you hear sometimes about the federal government's budget that's not balanced. They borrow money, or we borrow money as a country to keep balance. But by state law, we have to have a balanced budget. And that means we can only spend what we think we're going to get for revenues and no more than that. And so our budget's balanced. It does address the council's priorities, and those priorities are by and large the community priorities. So the budget has both council and community priorities. It focuses on the basics that the community wants, on improving our streets and keeping strong in our public safety areas. A key thing on our budget is there is no city property tax rate or any fee increases at all in the budget. We're mindful of the COVID pandemic and what its effect has been on the economy. And we know a lot of persons out there in Corpus Christi personally have been impacted from a job standpoint, from a revenue standpoint. So the council and staff made a conscious decision to have no city property tax rate increase, even though the voters approved one for the prior bond program. And we forewent that one. And there's no rate increases of any kind, no utility rate increases or user fee increases. And so it helps to keep the person's dollars neutral this year. The total budget is $1 billion, and that's slightly less than last year. And that's in part because of less revenues because of the downturn in the economy from the COVID pandemic. So this graph here shows you the different types of funds that we have: our general fund and enterprise funds, special revenue funds, the debt service funds where we pay back bonds and other debt, and then our capital budget of $259 million. So the fund that you're most familiar with is our general fund. That's one where we budget our streets and our police and fire and parks. And as you can see, there was a decrease in this budget or this fund of a little over 2%. And so this year, the budget will be $265 million. The proposed budget is, at least, compared to the $271 in the current fiscal year. And that's primarily due to a drop in our sales tax revenues from the downturn from COVID, as well as a drop in other revenues as well, fees and charges for service. You can see that our property tax is doing okay. About 500,000 more is projected for next fiscal year. But you can see sales tax is down close to 7%. And then other revenues close to 2%. So that's $6 million less than what we would receive this year. Plus this year, we're realizing a decrease as well. And so that's why our budget is less overall. But as Councilman Smith said, and despite the fact that we have less revenue, we're still making some significant improvements in the community, focusing on the things that matter most to the community, like on this next chart, streets. And we know that finally the city is back in the street paving business. Not only are we self-performing internally, meaning city crews are paving streets, and I'm getting tons of compliments from the community at what a great job the city crews are doing. They say that we're doing better than the contract crews, and they love the work we're doing. And so we're self-paving streets again. We brought new leadership to the table in the Public Works Streets Department. That's retraining all the staff. We're buying new equipment. We're taking equipment back into operation that had been mothballed for some time. And more importantly, though, we're using the right street application. We're no longer using the chip seal, which is those rock aggregate with an emulsion that kind of glued the rock down. That makes for a very loud and rough street. We're not doing those anymore. And we're doing more mill and overlays where you mill the top of the street and you put a brand new, nice black asphalt finish on there. And so what this graph shows us is the funding levels. So the budget includes $78 million. And when you compare it to the current year, it looks like we're doing a little bit less. But in fact, the bond program that we're recommending to the community in November, City Council approved putting on the November ballot a $75 million bond, with 61 of that going to streets. And so we'll spend not half, but close to half in that first year. And so that'll bring our level up pretty close to that 128 in fiscal year 2021. As the councilman mentioned, we're finally going to tackle this issue, which is Ocean Drive on this next chart. And we know the street is in terrible shape, but yet it's the signature corridor that a lot of people use at work and live here in the city. Plus, it's one that people come to visit us to see. And we know it's fallen into disrepair. We're going to be taking to council soon a contract recommendation to do the entire stretch, 14 miles of Ocean Drive from I-37 all the way to Ennis-Jocelyn. There's a small section in there by Cole Park that we won't have to redo, but the rest of it will be not just overlaid and not just, putting a Band-Aid on the problem, but we're going to mill up, dig up all the old asphalt and fix the areas where the base, the underlying surface is eroded too bad to just put another surface on. We're going to fix the base and then put a brand new 6-inch layer of asphalt, stripe it, and that's going to be from curb to curb with nice bike lanes and paths that people use to walk as well. So that's a $14 million project. Not only are we doing that, but we're doing streets right into District 4, City Council District 4, as you can see in this chart. In fact, there's so many that the print size here is a little bit small to see, but let's leave it up for a little bit to see if you can identify some of your streets. It includes bond program projects that are underway or planned or completed in District 4. It includes in-house work that our city crews are doing, overlays. Several of them are complete. There's 2 that are in construction, Caribbean and Klein, 2 examples there. There's streets being done from our, what we call the preventative street maintenance program. This helps to preserve streets before they get too bad. There's a long list there. Many are complete. These are ones from 2018 and 2019 and 2020. And that is another thing, which is that we're catching up. And so finally, by early next year, we'll have all the prior years caught up and we can begin on the 2021 program. And then there's a few residential streets, several actually residential streets. And these are the ones that are most important, I know, to you all that are living there in those neighborhoods. Many rehabilitations and reconstructions, and some of them are out for bid still, but you can see a lot of them are under construction. And this is a good list to show. So these are all streets in District 4 that are being worked on or will be worked on. Now, the councilman mentioned on the next chart that several signature projects are also underway. We have Park Road 22 Bridge after 16 years. That canal is just about done, and the bridge contract has been awarded already. In fact, the contractor is already ordering a lot of the materials. A lot of those spans will be precast, and they're being ordered now. The estimated completion date is June 2022. When you put the wastewater infrastructure that has to be improved alongside the bridge, it's an $18 million project right down there in the island. That's going to be a game changer for the island. Laguna Shores, that's a road I heard about, and I know Richard Martinez, our Public Works Director, heard about it a lot, and finally that road will be reconstructed. $16.5 million contract going to council soon. It's not only going to be reconstructed, but it's going to be done to where we are able to preserve it by putting a concrete berm, if you will, to help the erosion not take place that has been taking place. It's undermined the road that's there today. And then we know police presence is important in any community, and Flower Bluff is fortunate in that there's a police substation there at Flower Bluff. And we made a decision earlier this year to expand the size of the police substation. In that big building there in Flower Bluff, police were sharing space with the health department, but we were able to put the health department in an alternate location and make that building entirely a police substation, and one that residents can walk into and talk to an officer or get a report. And so this is a $1.3 million project that's coming soon. It's being designed now, and the project duration will take about 9 to 10 months. Speaking of police, the budget includes 5 new police officer positions. It's part of the plan that City Council approved last year, which is to add 5 police officers for the next 5 years so that we'd have 25 new and added police officers by the year 2024. Today, or with the additional 5, we'll have 451 police officers in our police department, providing a pretty decent number of officers to help protect our community. We're making improvements in fire as well. We're holding another significant fire academy coming up in this budget. The largest academy class is underway right now, and close to 50 cadets are being trained. This is to help fill the backlog of vacancies that we've had in that department. And in the past, what we've done to provide the service is use overtime funding, which is more expensive to the taxpayer, and it's also taxing on the employee. And so we continue the cadet classes, fully fund them. We also have money in the budget to buy new fire equipment, new fire trucks, and new ambulances as well. And then we know code enforcement is important on the island and Flower Bluff and in many other areas in District 4. This budget includes 2 additional code compliance officers to help bring code violations down and help be proactive in the community. Be a total of 23 officers with this addition. The budget includes money to improve services at our libraries. We're able to keep several of our types of libraries, library staff, library aides, and assistants at the libraries longer by giving them more hours. They're part-time, and some of the positions are part-time, but we'll keep them longer to help the citizens. And also, we have more cleaning services as well for the libraries. In our Parks and Rec area, we know this is an important part of any great city, and we did a lot in the current year budget to improve maintenance and irrigation and landscaping. And in this year's budget, we're able to add 38,000 more to help maintain 3 newly commissioned splash pads that we put in various parks in the city. In our solid waste area, we are going to begin the study and development of a composting program to help decrease the amount of compostable material that today is just thrown into our landfill. It's taking valuable landfill space, and this material can be turned into a good composting soil that we can use in our community, and ultimately it'll save taxpayer dollars. So more to come on that. No rate change either in the solid waste area. And this graph here summarizes all those fees that we have in that monthly bill, and none of them have a rate change. So no rate change in our water bill, no rate change in wastewater or stormwater or gas, and as I mentioned, none in solid waste as well. Now, you may have heard a little bit about, and we want to just introduce it tonight. We'll be out in the community more giving factual presentations, but we have a $75 million bond program proposed for the community for consideration on the November 3rd ballot. It does have $61 million for street projects, $12 million for park projects, and $2 million for public safety projects. You can see in this next chart some of the projects, or all of the projects that are in District 4. And let's go over them real quick. So in streets, there's $12 million in streets for District 4, including Everhart, Alameda the Staples, Waldron, Jackfish, Park Road 22, Compass to Park Road 22. That's going to help those persons that get to the coffee shop there and getting out of that neighborhood where you don't have to do the turnaround. And then also Beach Access Road number 3 as well. Thank you. And then in our parks, there's 3 parks: Windsor Park, Redder Park, and then Dodden Park as well. $250,000 to do playground equipment and shade covers as well. Okay, so with that, we're gonna show the video now that'll give you a little bit more detail on the budget, and then at that point, we're gonna come back and start listening to you, the community, on input on what you think about the budget and maybe what you think about the city in general. And so let's roll the video at this point.
Corpus Christi is a vibrant coastal community with amazing natural beauty and unprecedented economic growth. It is the 8th most populated city in Texas, with an economic engine that includes industry, military, tourism, and the 3rd largest port by tonnage in the United States. City Manager Peter Zanoni delivered the 2021 City of Corpus Christi proposed budget to City Council on July 28, 2020. The budget is balanced and based on priorities from the community and City Council, with no rate increases for property tax and utility rates. The billion-dollar budget represents $242 million in the general fund, $276 million in the enterprise fund, $126 million in the special revenue funds, $121 million in debt funds, and $260 million in the capital budget. The fiscal year 2021 proposed general fund budget is $265.3 million, which is down from last year at $271.2 million. There are budget enhancements for critical service areas, with no rate increases for property tax and utility rates. With police and fire accounting for 52% of the general fund budget, The remaining departments rely on other funding resources like fines and fees. Solid waste is $28 million, streets $27 million, parks $19 million, and other departments like library, health, and animal care total $54 million. What's new in the proposed budget? Street maintenance and reconstruction will be top priority going into 2021. $78 million has been budgeted for street maintenance and reconstruction, with $33 million going to street maintenance, $34 million to arterials and collectors, and $11 million to residential streets. The streets proposed budget includes a Shoreline Ocean Drive project that will undergo a mill and overlay to rehabilitate over 14 miles of roadway from I-37 to Ennis Joslin Road at $14.5 million. $1 million is budgeted for a new program to provide maintenance for city's concrete streets and $300,000 for increased pavement markings. The police budget proposals include funding for 5 new police officer positions for a second year of plan to add 25 officers by fiscal year 2024, radio phase 2 equipment purchase of 854 radios for public safety, and a new police academy scheduled for July 2021. The fire department proposed budget includes a new fire academy scheduled for January 2021. CCFD will be at full strength with over 400 sworn firefighters in July 2021 for the first time in the past decade. Truck replacements include 3 medic units, 2 fire engines, 1 aerial truck, and replacement of 140 self-contained breathing apparatus at $931,000. The budget proposal also recommends a $360,000 increase in the city's financial contribution to the firefighter retirement system. Code enforcement budget proposals include 2 additional neighborhood code enforcement officers funded by the Community Development Block Grant to bring the strength to 23 officers. Library proposed budget includes increasing library aid and library assistant hours to better serve the public at $15,000 and increasing custodian hours to maintain cleaner facilities at $18,000. Parks and Recreation budget proposals include funding for maintenance for 3 newly commissioned splash pads at $38,000. Solid waste proposed budget includes beginning an organic waste composting program to decrease the amount of waste going to the landfill, saving taxpayer dollars, and funding for 5 solid waste recycling inspectors for public education to reduce the contamination of recyclables. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the importance of the Health District. The Health District budget proposals include an additional $165,000 for an assessment and to create a strategic plan for future operations. The city's credit rating was upgraded to AA-, and the city's comprehensive annual financial report was completed with a positive result. The Finance Department proposed budget includes funding to hire a grant manager and add a utilities liaison connecting the city and utility companies. The IT department budget proposals include continuing to upgrade the city's infrastructure to increase reliability, security, and network speeds, centralizing the geographic information system to improve support and mapping data for enterprise applications, and creating a security operations center for 24/7 monitoring and support. In the utilities department, there are no proposed rate changes for water, wastewater, or gas. The fiscal year 2021 proposed budget is balanced, addresses council and community priorities, focuses on basic city functions such as public safety and streets, and is consistent with council-approved financial policies. Now that the proposed budget is presented, what's next? To adopt the fiscal year 2021 budget, a public hearing and the first reading will be September 8th, and the second reading will be September 15th during City Council meetings. The City of Corpus Christi budget is the blueprint for the next year of programs and services. If you are interested in more details about the budget, visit www.cctexas.com.
Okay, great. I hope you enjoyed that video. That's the second year we've done that, and it's a good way to get a good sense of what's in the budget. And again, that's on our website. So if you want to watch it again or tell your family and friends about it, we encourage you to do so. Okay, so at this point, we are going to turn it over to our moderator, Deanna McQueen, who's going to help now facilitate your questions and comments to us. And just as a reminder, Councilman Smith, myself are here. There may be other council members I can't see on the screen, so I don't know if they want to, if any of the council members want to identify themselves real quick.
Hi, Peter. This is Councilwoman Paulette Guajardo.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Sure thing.
Thanks for joining us again tonight. Any other council members on the on our WebEx or call?
Yes, Peter, this is Councilman Gil Hernandez.
Great. Thank you, Councilman.
Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. We're going to be in your district on Wednesday, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any other council members? Okay, very good. In addition to the council members, myself, we have over 15 directors, our department heads, and we're going to turn it over to Deanna now, and the group of us, including Councilman Smith, will be here to answer your questions and give you feedback as we hear from you. So Deanna, I'm going to turn it back over to you now.
All right, thanks, Peter. We have lots of questions coming in tonight, and let's start with this one. Does the proposed budget include funding to improve Flower Bluff drainage?
Great. We're going to turn that right over to Richard Martinez. And Richard is our new Public Works Director, and his focus is on streets typically, but we're adding drainage or stormwater to our programs here and really trying to bolster that program up. Many Texas cities have a pretty robust stormwater program, and ours isn't too bad, but we do need to make some significant improvements. And so with that, Richard, let me have you talk to the community tonight.
I don't think we can hear Richard.
Peter, we're going to help Richard out here for a moment. He seems to have an audio issue.
Peter, if I could just make a quick comment on there. So our stormwater budget is $31 million spent in all points in the city. And I've been visiting with Richard Martinez that, yes, there is drainage improvements in Flower Bluff. And another issue we've had is the Williams Ditch. It's caused a lot of flooding in Greenway Gardens. And Richard is addressing that. And this has been something that's been with us about 20 years. We do have houses flood there. In the bluff that he's looking at the Glen Oak drainage on there. We've had houses flood in Glen Oak, and Richard is working on improving that. They've already done some things, but both of these projects are in the design phase right now. So that's part of the stormwater budget. $31 million spent throughout the city. We ready to go, Richard?
We may go back to Deanna and see, we'll see what's going on at Richards and come back to him.
All right, we have another question. Will the proposed budget include improvements for our wastewater treatment plants, specifically the OSO wastewater treatment plant?
The answer is yes. And so, and I saw on Facebook a comment on what is going on at the OSO treatment plant. You can see some pretty large cranes that have been there for some time. And I believe Kevin Norton, our water utility director, is on, but let me just do a quick intro, which is that at OSO, that's the city's largest wastewater treatment plant. And there is some significant investment, over 30 million in what they call the headworks. That's where the sewer comes in as like the first area where it begins to be treated. And it's a massive project replacing a building or a system that was there from, I think, the 50s. So it was pretty old. And we're doing improvements to the trains, they call them, where there's additional treatment to the wastewater. And then there's a significant design plan to add significant capacity to that treatment plant by adding another whole set of trains, is what they call them. But Kevin, are you on today? Kevin Norton? Yeah, you are. Why don't you explain a little bit more for the community?
manager was saying, it is our largest wastewater treatment plant. And actually the last major rehab was in the 1980s. I'm making sure that's not me. But actually it's in service now. City manager had said, in phase 2, which is actually implementing a new treatment process that uses less chemicals. So to go to construction in 2022. The construction will be coordinated around the operations.
Peter, we're going to go ahead and address the reverb for Kevin. It's just two speakers are on at once. I'll give Kevin.
All right, let's go to the, let's go to the next question, Dan. I think generally the answer I gave is a high level one, but there's a lot of work happening at that wastewater treatment plant. And the city, just so the community knows, we have 6 in total. And each of them over the next 10 years, and especially over the next 3, have significant amount of dollars that are recommended to be invested in them, and it's planned and scheduled. And so Deanna, let's go to the next question.
All right. Does the proposed budget allow for community cleanup events such as those held in Flower Bluff and on the island?
Yes, it does. So we haven't changed any of that funding or any of that programming. And in fact, what we've seen is the great community down there, even adding to those cleanup efforts after Hurricane Hannah. And so a lot of beach cleaning efforts taking place. But we still do our dial-a-trailer, if you will, from solid waste. And I don't know if David's on where he can talk about that, where we bring in containers for people to help throw away materials and help clean up the community. David Layfelt, are you on tonight?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we have a couple of cleanup programs that we have. We have the Litter Critter, which is a truck that we can park in the neighborhood. It's usually for neighborhood cleanup programs. 2 or more neighbors get together, they reserve a truck, and we can put that out in the neighborhood over a weekend. We also have a cleanup trailer, which we make available for volunteer groups if they're going to be cleaning up a stretch of roadway or a park. It's a trailer that comes fully loaded with all the different parts and pieces, trash pickers, bags, just a variety of tools, rakes and shovels that they're welcome to use. And then we have a periodic neighborhood cleanups where we bring we coordinate with a volunteer group. They set it up, they man it, and we'll bring roll-off trailers out. We'll set those trailers, and then they're roll-off boxes actually. And then as people fill those up, then we'll pull those off and go empty those and replace them. And that's usually a half-day event that we have periodically throughout the city.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. Okay, Deanna, we'll turn it back to you.
What assurance does the city have that the street overlay project on Ocean and Shoreline Drives will last longer and not get any potholes right away?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want Richard to answer it. I could try, and I think I could, but I want the community to hear from Richard. Let's see if his audio is working. Richard, are you there today? Not today, but are you there now?
Peter, we're still working with Richard.
Still working? Okay, then let me answer that for you all, that whoever had that question. So what the city had been doing prior to Richard's arrival is we have been using the best applications, the best materials. And so if we just focus on potholes for a minute, in the past, the city was using a lot of what they call cold mix. And it was just cold asphalt. You take it out of a bag and throw it in the pothole. not do any prep and then kind of tamp it down and leave. What Rich is doing is retraining all the staff. So when we're out there fixing a pothole, we square the pothole, we clean out the debris, and then put a nice hot asphalt in there. So that's just one example on an appropriate technique in fixing a street. But what we're going to do on Ocean Drive is not just put a thin overlay on top of an already bad street, which would end up doing just what you're saying, which is have potholes turn up soon, right? So what we're going to do is what you call a mill and overlay. We're going to completely mill more than 6 inches off the street, taking up all that old street, removing it completely from curb to curb. And then we check the foundation, what's below that asphalt, to see if there's any foundation repairs that need to be made. Sometimes the underlaying structure can be weakened by water and pressure from heavy trucks and just time. And so we're going to fix any areas below the asphalt area and put new compacted material in there if we need to. There's certain sections we know, especially along Ocean Drive, where we're going to need to do that between Doddridge and Robert in particular, and then even a little bit past Robert. And then once all that is done, then we put a brand new 6-inch layer of brand new hot asphalt. And with a strong underlayment and the brand new asphalt on top of a good foundation, that's how we're going to keep Ocean Drive looking good for many years to come. And then on top of that, though, any street does have stress and duress. And so having a good maintenance plan, sealing the cracks that can form over time from heat and moisture, that's going to keep it in good shape too for many years to come. We'll have nice brand new striping, and again, it's going to go from curb to curb. We're not just going to do what appears to have been done in the past, just the middle travel lanes. We want to make sure those bike lanes are as good as the travel lanes themselves, because sometimes not only the bikers use them, but vehicles pull to the side as well. So we have a great plan. We put it out to bid, and we had some pretty good companies bid on it. We'll be taking the contract to council soon. I'm not sure if it was next week or the week after, but that contract will be awarded, and then we'll be bringing more information to the community about the timeline soon. So that's going to be a great project for the community.
And Peter, if I could make a quick comment, that Ocean Drive was last rebuilt in 1967. So it's 53 years old. And so that 53-year-old pavement is all going to come out, and it's going to be replaced, like Peter said, 6 inches of brand new asphalt. A lot of our collectors on there are just 2 inches thick in asphalt. But this will be 6 inches of brand new asphalt. It's going to be a new street. So it'll be a long time. Hopefully after my lifetime that we'll see a pothole again on Ocean Drive. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Deanna, we're going to turn it back to you.
All right, sir. Switching gears, does the proposed budget include additional funding for public libraries so they can get back to normal operations?
Yes, it sure does, and that's exactly what the library director recommended, and I recommended to the full council. And Laura, let's have you explain it. You did a great job the other night talking about the enhanced level of service to get them all kind of back in an equal footing.
Yes, thank you. Laura Garcia, Library Director. Basically, we're increasing the hours of our part-time staff. Throughout the years, we've had cuts in those positions, and so we're trying to bring like our library aides that are 18 hours up to 20 at least. The part-time library assistants that we have at 18 hours will come up to 25. And then our part-time library custodians will come up from 18 to 25 hours. So that gives us the ability to keep our libraries functioning better, having them kept cleaner and so forth. And then the library assistants are able to assist at the checkout desk and so forth.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
All right, we have another question here. Does the budget include funding to replace LED lights and motion sensors near the Selena statue on Shoreline?
Let's see. I'm not sure if that's going to be Jeff Edmonds or Richard, but there is a significant project to take care of the seawall from pretty much end to end. That includes repainting, fixing the water fountains that are there. And there was some discussion on the LED lighting. Maybe Joey Johnson. Jeff, can you address that one? Jeff Edmonds? Well, Joseph, are you on? Joey Johnson? Well, let me, so the answer I gave is it. We'll see if we can get these guys on to get additional information, but we know that many of those light fixtures need to be replaced, and we had talked about, I just need to confirm if it's part of this first project where we're going to be repainting that white kind of cap that's on the entire seawall. There's funds to not only do the painting, but also secure up and seal up any areas where there's cracks taking place, and do some other improvements along the way to include those water fountains. So Deanna, we'll get that second part of the answer once we get these other folks to get back on the WebEx.
All right, that sounds good. Has anyone in the council been looking at property where Southside Pony League was at? If so, will there be any plans for this location with the proposed budget?
Okay, I'm going to look for some help from Parks on that one. And either Joey or Tracy, anybody from Parks on?
Peter, Becky Perrin, Parks.
Hey, Becky.
Right now, we are hoping to find someone to sign a lease with that property and bring back some sports to that area.
Okay, great. Becky, thank you. Do you know anything, Becky, about the lights, the LED lights at the seawall?
I do know that there was an agreement with the CVB also on maintaining the lights in the past. I don't know what their current plan is at this time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Peter, this is Jeff. I had trouble getting unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, so that project, we went out for bids one time, as a lot of people know, and then we had to reject those bids, and we are planning on putting that back out in the next month or so. And at that time, we're going to be doing upgrades to the lighting and making cosmetic improvements, as well as miscellaneous improvements to the concrete, fixing spalls and cracks and resealing and that sort of work.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's good. Okay, Deanna, that takes care of that question.
Yes, sir. Does the budget allow funding to control the odor near the Oso wastewater treatment plant?
It does, and we're going to see if we can get our utility director back on. And one of the things that Headworks project that I talked about earlier will do is just that. And it's also going to be an improvement that saves money because there's less chemicals that would need to be used. And that's an expensive part of any water treatment. But Kevin, are you back on yet? Is your system working? Is Kevin Norton on? Either Kevin or Daniel? Or Jeff, do you know?
I'll take a stab at it. The project that's currently underway, the Headworks project, should help with some of that, and then the next phase of the expansion should also help more with that, where we're putting in more trains and better systems for dealing with the solids, and so in the future there will be less issues with odors than in the past. I think we can comfortably say that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, we have another question. Will we see an increase in sales tax in our city?
Well, if the question is, would there be an increase in the rate? The answer is no. So there's no increases in any of the rates in our budget. but do we hope we'll collect more sales tax? We do, because that would turn into more services for the community. But the reality is, because of the COVID pandemic, we're forecasting about 6.5% less in collections over the current fiscal year. And that's in part because of the downturn in the economy due to the COVID pandemic. But I did see a question on Facebook, or a statement on Facebook, where somebody was looking at the state website, and the state posts how much sales tax the state collects month over month. And for July, the state, according to this person, did better than even last year, July. And we got our sales tax check for July, and we beat our estimate of what we thought we would get. And so that's a good thing. So we collected a little bit more than what we thought we would. And that helps. That money will be used to provide a lot of these services that people are asking for in the community. So we hope that continues. That July activity, though, was for June activity, and that's pre us spiking in COVID cases here. And so we'll see what happens with the next check.
All right. Is the Corpus Christi Science and History Museum part of this proposed budget?
It is. So the Science and History Museum receives a contractual payment from the city to help run that operation. Now, one thing we know, and that I'm learning more about, is that contractual arrangement is probably not sufficient to keep the museum running as it is today. We need to look at the setup and the city's investment, and look to see how we might be able to help out that great facility even more. I think we're in year 2 or 3 of a contract that had a stepping down, actually, of the city providing fewer dollars each subsequent year. And I'm not sure if that contract is viable in those terms. So we'll be working with the friends of that facility, as well as the current CEO. And we'll be bringing back something to City Council in the near future that may look at restructuring that agreement to where the city has to invest a little bit more to make sure that great facility can continue to operate.
We have another question about lighting. Are funds available for improving the lighting on Flower Bluff Drive?
I'm not sure if Richard, do you want to try to take that one? Is your computer working?
So, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my apologies first to everyone out there listening. I had some malfunctions in my computer. Richard Martinez, the Director of Public Works, and there are a lot of great things we've been doing in the Flower Bluff area, District 4 area. I think y'all mentioned a lot of things about Ocean Drive, and also drainage issues along Glen Oak, Ramfield, and there's a lot of things that we've been doing in that area. Taking a lot of tours with Councilman Smith, and every time it rains, I'm out there. But going back to the questions that y'all have based on Flower Bluff. So currently what we're doing is we've got 2 projects on Flower Bluff, and they basically go from Don Patricia all the way to Yorktown. And in that project, we're looking at how we can actually increase the lighting in that general area. So part of that project with the overlay, we're looking at how much lighting we can put in as well. So in those projects, that's 2019, 2020, we're also going to improve some lighting in the Flower Bluff area. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Richard. Good to hear you. I know you know the community well down there, so.
Yes, sir. Again, my apologies, because I really wanted to highlight some things that we've been doing in those areas. It's been a lot of work, and working with the councilman in that area, we've really been trying to take a really good look at the drainage and street issues out there.
That's great. Thank you.
And Richard, could you mention Williams too, what you're doing in Williams Ditch?
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. So Williams Ditch, of course, every time it rains, we're out there as well. And so we've worked with our consultants and gone out and taken a look and see what we can do as a short-term and long-term fix. So part of that process in our stormwater capital program, we've actually programmed Williams Ditch from SPID to Ennis Jocelyn, where there are going to be 2 things. So first, we're going to clean that out. And Councilman, we got the approval from the Corps of Engineers to go ahead and allow us to clean that out.
Yay.
Yes. And so also the second thing was they are very positive about seeing our design for expanding the ditch all the way to Ennis Jocelyn. And that's the last choke point for that channel as well. So that'll help clear all that water from Rodfield down in past SPID into Oso Bay. And so the cleaning, we're hoping will get started in September. And the design is already being looked at and started for that section to excavate that out. You know, as you know, it's got a lot of invasives. That Brazilian pepper has really taken over that area. So every time it rains, you get some backlog of the water coming up onto Ennis Jocelyn. So we're really working in that area. And then the third thing is looking at how we can expand that channel from Ennis Jocelyn to Rodfield. And that's going to be a bigger project, but we're looking at that entire area.
All right, don't go anywhere, Richard. We have another question for you. Does the budget include funding for public works to allow more street work to be completed in-house?
That's a great question. So as our city manager has said, we actually retrained a lot of our staff this year, and we are self-performing a lot of the work. And we had just finished a lot of streets in the Flower Bluff area and on the island. And we're going to be doing some more in those areas. We're going around every single council district. And what we're doing is buying equipment to be able to do that in-house. So the first round of equipment, working with our asset management team, we're able to acquire some of that. And then they are actually going to be delivering some more into council for approval as well, so that we can get additional pavers and additional milling machines so we can put on additional crews. So with this year's budget, looks like we're going to be able to have, by the time the next year's budget starts, have 2 paving crews and 2 milling crews. So we are going to be doing a lot more work internally in-house. Now, when I say that, we also partner with our contracting community as well, because it's just not in-house to complete the work that we have to do. A lot of the heavy lifting reconstruction are done by our contracting partners. So it's a 1-2 punch. You've got to have the contracting partners to do all the residential reconstructions, and then our in-house to do a lot of the overlays, reclamations, those type of things, so that and then the bond work. So it's a neighborhood approach. And I think you'll see that more. Those of you that are in the Flower Bluff area have just seen us go through entire neighborhoods and redo the streets. I like a neighborhood approach versus 1 or 2 streets in certain areas. But to answer your question, yes, we are going to be doing more work in-house.
All right, turning now to golf courses, does the budget include some more frequent lawn mowing for our city golf courses?
So our city golf courses, and Becky, you can chime in after I'm done here, are managed by an outside group. We have a contract with them. There's 2 golf courses that we have, and they do a great job in keeping the greens well manicured. They're doing a great job overall. We do budget money for capital improvements each year to help keep the facilities up to speed. And we were just talking about them recently. In fact, we'll be having a budget work session with City Council on this Thursday on parks, and golf will come up. Is there any more to add to that, Becky?
No, Peter, that's correct. What we keep hearing from the public is that since this group has taken over, they have really done a great job to improve our course, and people are really enjoying playing on them.
Great, thank you.
Does this proposed budget help with feeding the homeless?
So the budget continues to fund our team that we have. In this year's budget, I redirected resources to create for the first time a team that focuses on the homelessness problem that we have in Corpus, that every city has. And we have a 3-person team, 2 of which are focused on homelessness, and then the third person is focused on affordable housing. And so the budget continues their service and their work plan. They work with over 30 providers that help feed and shelter the homeless. And the city has federal dollars as well, and that funding actually increased in the current year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We got several out-of-cycle awards of several $1 million to help with feeding and help with conditions to help keep homeless persons safe. So including providing materials like face masks and encouraging our homeless providers to allow persons to have access to running water and other things to keep their hands clean, to keep the virus away from them. And so there is more funding for food, and there is that continued commitment. We're less than a year into the work plan, and I know we've been in Flower Bluff quite a bit, and the team has been down there. And really, the homeless problem is citywide, and we're going to continue to work on the issue and make great strides in that area. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in the homeless population because of the downturn in the economy, and we're trying to address that as well.
All right, going back to streets, are there plans to redo Tulane, Cartagena, Caribbean, and Laguna Shores with the proposed budget?
Okay, so I'll take care of that. So yes, so Laguna Shores, there are 3 projects again, and I think Jeff, if you want to speak on that real quick, and then I'll go to the other streets that they were talking about.
Yes, sir. This is Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services, and we've just opened bids on those 3 segments of Laguna Shores, and they're going to be going to council for award at the September 8th council meeting.
So the next one you talked about was Caribbean, and yes, we're actually just paved Caribbean today. So working throughout the Flower Bluff area, we've got one other street that we still have pending, and that's Klein. I want to tell you about Klein. So Councilman Smith and I talked about Klein, and he actually was telling me a story about how when the city managers were being interviewed, how they went down that street as being one of the worst streets in Flower Bluff. And I did see that when I did Laguna Shores as well. So right now, Klein is in construction and will be completed before the end of next week, Councilman Smith.
Councilman Smith, we need to take another ride down there, Councilman Smith.
Well, you remember that, don't you? We had our 4 prospective city managers there, and I wanted them to be fully aware of our lousy streets, you know, a #1 priority. And we couldn't have picked a worse street than Klein. I asked the driver, be sure and go down that. So this shows us the change that we're doing. Klein, after 30 or 40 years of being a third world street, finally those homeowners are getting decent paving, those hardworking tax-paying homeowners.
Sir, this is Kevin Norton. Just wanted to let you know I'm back online.
Okay, great, Kevin. Thank you. Do you want to speak for a few minutes? As I've seen some additional questions come in on maybe generally on the state of our wastewater facilities, and in particular the OSO treatment plant. Jeff Edmonds talked a little bit about how the new Headworks facility will help to reduce odors. And why don't you give us just a quick 2-3 minute overview of the system?
Okay, thank you. First off, I just want to apologize, though, about the technical difficulties. Honest to goodness, that was the first time I've ever had that issue with that reverberation like that. And so the IT department told me to unplug the camera, but then you couldn't hear me on the phone. So we're all squared away now. So on wastewater with the OSO, yes, that's correct with the Headworks. That project has been going on, I think, since like 2016 or 2017. And it is wrapping up. It's actually in operation right now, so that's pretty exciting. And then we got the phase 2 design. That's what I was trying to explain earlier with the reverberation, which increases the treatment capacity at the plant and also implements a new treatment process. So we don't have to use as many chemicals. And so, you know, there's less concern for the environment because you're using less chemicals. And long term, it's going to be less O&M cost. And all this work does address the odor issues over there. That second project, it's in design right now, and we expect it to go to construction in 2022. And the operations at the plant will continue during that time. So it's going to be, kind of a 2-3 year process as we work through expanding the plant and implementing the new process while keeping the operations going. With all the wastewater treatment plants, there is a lot of work that's going on at all 6 plants. It's either planned in design or in construction right now, and that's all going to be happening because a lot of the plants, really the last major upgrades and rehabilitations were like in the 1980s, and so they're overdue, and it all kind of coming together right now. But it's a lot of good work. A couple of the plants, the treatment processes are going to be improved again to reduce cost long-term overall, but you got to put that capital investment up, with it. We're also doing a lot of work with our lift stations. Corpus Christi is very flat, so we have 102 lift stations around to transport the wastewater when you flush it down the drain. Gravity takes it a certain point, but then you got to use a lift station to force it, move it to another point, and then it keeps on going to one of the 6 wastewater treatment plants. So we got lift station work going on, and then also a lot of work in our collection system, the underground pipes, the sewer system, because we have honestly a lot of old infrastructure throughout the city. A lot of it's over 50, 60 years old, and that's where we focus our efforts with the wastewater system.
Great. Thank you, Kevin, for giving us that feedback. Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you.
All right, sir. This is one for our first responders. Does the proposed budget help increase the amount of police officers and firefighters?
Okay, well, I believe Chief Markle, yeah, there he is. Let's have Chief Markle begin by talking about the police officers.
Thank you, Peter. That's a great question. I'm very, very happy to talk about it. This budget does include an additional 5 officers over attrition for the 2021 Academy, which will continue to supplement the overall program of 5 officers over 5 years for a total of 25 additional officers. All of those will be operational. They'll wear uniforms and be out in the street to help us with increasing call load. This is this council and city manager is elevating our positions to be commensurate with the increasing call load. It's going to be a great addition to the city, and we look forward to those graduates.
Thank you, Chief. And you have a cadet class in training right now, right? How many is it? 30 something?
That's correct. There are 33.
33?
Most of those have gotten off of the FTO program this week, so we see the fruits of our labor, the council and yours and ours labor of hiring those additional 5 that are hit the streets as solo units this week, which is good. It's good for our operations.
Great. So that's the class that just graduated, right? But the one that you have one that just started a couple weeks ago, right?
We had a class that's in training, in class training now, but the class that's off the FTO field training officer program, they're finishing that now. That's the academy that graduated in February.
Right. And the current academy, though, how big is the current class?
Current class is 30.
Okay.
30.
Okay, good. And as Chief Rocha, you on tonight from fire?
I am, Peter. Thank you very much.
Great. Yes, sir.
We're very happy to say that for the first time, the Corpus Christi Fire Department in a long time will be fully staffed with this class that we currently have in Academy right now. I currently have 47 cadets in Academy right now that'll graduate next year, and I'm on target to hire 25 more in January of next year.
And Chief, could you tell us what you're doing EMS-wise? You've made some changes there in this budget.
Thank you very much, Councilman, and thank you for the support that the fire department receives from our mayor, our city council, and our city manager. We have upped the number. When I came in 2011, we had 9 ambulances, and currently right now the city is staffing 12 ambulances with no increase in personnel. It was due to movement of people, putting more people on the street and opening up those 3 ambulances. On top of that, because of the COVID, the city manager has allowed me, whenever we start running short and we start running an increased number of calls that are related to COVID, I've got 2 more ambulances, one at Station 17 on Yorktown and another at Station 12 that we can staff up using overtime. And so we really are making a concentrated approach with how we handle EMS. 75% of the calls that the fire department makes are EMS calls. And so we are gearing our business model toward making sure that we have enough ambulances to answer the demand for the need of services.
Great. Thank you, both chiefs. We know that you guys do a great job, and you're well respected in the community. And I was just speaking today again on police and fire, both for that matter, but rarely do we hear any negativity from the community on the services that you all provide. You guys have some great teams and a great vision and values that help run your departments both. So thank you. Thank you both. Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you.
All right. Are there any plans to add a commuter bridge on the Oso, which would connect the Oso Wetlands Preserve to Flower Bluff?
Richard, I don't know if you're familiar with that, or Jeff.
Peter, I'm not familiar with that, but I certainly will take a look at it.
There's been a parks project on the books for some time to look at using the old railroad bridge or use that alignment to connect it. Parks is on. They might be able to comment on that. I know they've sought some external funding on that in the past.
Becky, anything you think on your side?
Along with what Jeff Edmonds said, is that this has been a on again, off again type conversation. I don't think anything has been completed with it or moved forward. It is something that we've looked at for more connectivity.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if I could comment quickly.
Sure, Councilman.
We did look at it, but after Harvey, it washed away a lot of that old railroad trestle piling. So what was talked about at that point in time was to build it on the existing piling, but Harvey took care of that. So the cost of doing it would be much greater. But tying those two sides together is just absolutely a great project. We have a pine grove over on the Flower Bluff side, which the city owns with it, and tying that to the Oso Nature Preserve would be fantastic. And the Nature Preserve was built with grant funding. And this is the type of project. I think, Constance, we've hired a new grant person on there, so we're expanding on what we can do with grants. And that project has grant written all over it.
That's right, Councilman. So we haven't hired them yet, but we recommended a grants position in the budget, and this would be, I think, a first, at least I don't know how many years, decades maybe, but. And that position will focus just on getting grants for the city. We already do have staff that do that in the departments, but they do it alongside other duties. And so this position will help to give the city staff a focus and a strategy on applying for as many grants as we can. Thank you for that reminder.
All right, another night of great questions and answers. Peter, I'm sending it back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Deanna, for another great night of your moderating. We appreciate the work that you do. We're at our concluding point. I'm going to just say a few final words on kind of the next steps, and then I'm going to let Councilman Smith have our final words for this evening. So this information was in the video, but we just want to repeat it here for you. So if you want to participate in this forum, you have one more chance, and that would be Wednesday night. And we're going to be in City Council District 5, hosted by Councilman Hernandez, who's on our WebEx with us this evening. And it's the same time, 6 o'clock, same type of format. And then we do have, if you can make that, or if you want to give even more input, we're going to have public hearings at our City Council meeting on September 8th. We'll have two posted public hearings, one on the budget in general, and then one on the city property tax rate. And so following City Council protocol, which includes written testimony and telephone access, you can participate that way. And then the budget will culminate with a first reading on the budget on September 8th. and then the second reading and adoption on September 15th. And so as your city manager, I do want to thank you for taking time to share your feedback with us this evening. I'm glad you got a chance to see, again, many of our professionals that are helping to run the over 30 departments that we have in the city. This has been, as it was last year, a pleasure being with the District 4 residents. You all are extremely community oriented, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the leadership down there as well, to include persons like Shirley Thornton and Flo East as well. And so, Councilman, I'm going to turn it over to you to say the final words, and we appreciate you setting the example too with your face mask. We didn't talk too much about COVID tonight, but we do want to remind the community that the pandemic is still here and there's still no vaccine. Our bodies have very little immunity, no immunity to it. So continue to wear those face masks. Councilman, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thanks everybody for the great questions on it. And it's so important for us sitting on council. We work for you to hear your feedback with it. And you can probably see, City of Corpus Christi, there's 3,000 employees working for you. And I hope tonight you were able to see what they're doing, trying to improve our services, doing more, most importantly, stretching your tax dollars out, doing things that we haven't done in the past, but with the same amount of money. So everybody, thank you so very much. It's a great city. There's no better district in my eyes than District 4 with 50 miles of shoreline. I love Corpus Christi. I love this district, and thanks so much for listening in, giving your feedback. Staff, for all the overtime you're putting in, doing this, and really engaging our community. Everybody, have a great night and stay safe.